Hi, I'm David Neeleman, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've never taken over an existing business. I've always just started stuff, from scratch. Morris Air was a startup from scratch. WestJet in Canada, we started from scratch. JetBlue, we started from scratch. Azul, we started from scratch. So I'm just kind of a guy that starts from scratch. We sold Morris Air to Southwest Airlines back in '94. Then I spent 6 months at Southwest Airlines. I learned how to buy new airplanes. I knew how to finance them. In fact, when I started JetBlue, our CFO came from Southwest Airlines. But I learned how they treat their people, and I learned a lot there in 6 months. But when I left, I had 4.5 years left on a non-compete. I did two things during that 4.5 years. The first thing I did is I started an electronic ticketing company. It services 50 airlines worldwide. And then I also was one of the founders of WestJet Airlines up in Canada, in Calgary. It was out of the country, it didn't affect my non-compete. It's kind of an interesting story because when the investors in Morris Air came in with a year to go, and they invested $15 million. And so when Southwest approached us, when I went back to the investors and said, we have a deal with Southwest, they're going to buy Morris Air, and you get $30 million, and they said, oh, we don't think that's a fair return. I said, what do you think's fair? I said, we want 2.5x, because if we go public, we'll make more than that. So I said, okay, well what do you want? Is that 42.5 million? And they said, sure. And I go, okay. We were getting 135 million, June and I. So I thought, okay, well, June would get 50, I was getting 25, we had 15 for the senior management, give them 42, we had plenty of money to go around. So yeah, okay, you have your 42.5 million. So when I went to start JetBlue, I called the same guys up and said, hey, you want to do this again? They go, oh, with you? Anytime, any place, anywhere. I said, well, the price of admission's a little more than 15 now, and they said, how much? And I said, 135 million. They go, okay, we'll do it. And so, same group. So the JetBlue story is well known. Started that, successful, still going today. Was there 8 years, and the board decided they wanted to have day-to-day kind of an operations guy kind of running it. They wanted me to go to be chairman and kind of be the visionary from there. And after doing that for about a year, I decided that's not what I wanted to do. And there was just this huge opportunity in Brazil. I was born in Brazil. I spoke Portuguese. I saw that there was just a huge market potential. So I went back to some of those same guys and said, we're going to do it again. And I said, the price of admission's a little higher this time. They said, how much? And it ended up being 235 million. So we put together 235 million in a couple phases and started in Brazil. So that thing's been going about 1.5 years. And our second year we'll do about 500 million in sales, and we're projecting $1 billion in sales next year. So it's on the same track as JetBlue, same growth rate, and could potentially have even a higher IPO. So it's been a lot of fun. I think a lot of guys that would get funded 235 million, they'd say, okay, let's go find a headquarters, let's put oak paneled walls, let's build an executive suite. Those are things that you have to look at and say, resources are scarce. Let's look at those things that benefit our crew members or our customers. And if it's not, let's not do it. I think those guys that grow up bootstrapping it and fighting and making it a company, I think are a lot more capable and a lot more efficient in dealing with competitors in the future. First of all, I think a leader, an owner, you have to be there. You have to be where the action is. I used to fly to a city that had Southwest, and I would sit and just stare out the window and watch their operation, how they did everything. Just watching everything that they did and making sure that we didn't forget anything and everything was fine on how they turned airplanes in 20 minutes. And I have a president down in Brazil who's a Brazilian. The guy's amazing. He said, I, this week, talked to 450 customers. I took 4 flights, I talked to every single person, and I've spoken to 450 people. And I tell you, they love us. That's just very important. He's new to the industry, and so he's learning. And the way to learn is to talk to your customers. You can sit in your office all day long and think things are a certain way, but unless you go out and sample your product and hang out with the people and impart your vision, it just doesn't happen.
Working with David Neeleman is something that I've been able to experience and I've learned from. He's an innovator. He's done so very well with his other businesses before he's come here, and here he's been able to perfect the process of building this airline.
Well, that's the great thing about a leader. Sometimes there are leaders that surround themselves with people that are, maybe people that they can just dictate to, strong leaders that think that that's better. I really hire those people that complement me and where I know I'm not strong, bring those people in and do it. I understand the process side of the business, I understand the operations side of the business, but I get bored with it and I don't have the patience to do it. And so I bring people in that can do all that stuff. You have to find people that can actually implement your ideas. For me, and I think I have a lot more people kind of around me that are kind of opposite than me. You really have to understand what your strengths and weaknesses are, and really hire people that are better than you at doing certain things. When I went to Azul down in Brazil, there was not a lot of talent there on the aviation side. It was just 2 airlines and some other couple of small ones. Wasn't really impressed the way things were being run, and so I had to take a team with me. When you do that, you have founder shares, and you have them for a very good valuation. If you share that, if you take a portion of that and say, this can be yours if you come and help me do this, then you can attract a lot of talent. And so, to be able to get someone to uproot their family living in the United States and move to Brazil, and half of those guys didn't speak Portuguese at all, and they've had to learn it being down there, you have to make it really sweet for them, and you have to kind of paint a dream, paint a vision. Let's go change aviation in Brazil. Let's be part of history.